Hey, what is up, guys? Okay, we are diving into week 4 of our Spring into Fitness challenge. I think generally around week 4, it starts to get a bit challenging just in terms of motivation levels may drop a little bit, and discipline needs to now come into force and take over. I did notice that in the last week, in week 3. Obviously, based on our physical challenge, we are quite far behind just in terms of the reps that we needed to accumulate, which gives us the indication that there are many people in the group that are potentially feeling demotivated at this point and struggling to stay consistent and put the work in. Remember, if we want the results, we can give you as much information, as much support, as much accountability as we possibly can. But ultimately, it's up to you. It's ultimately up to you to put the work in and to be disciplined and make sure that we just staying consistent. Remember, it doesn't have to be drastic. It just needs to be consistent. Consistent changes over time will make all the difference. Getting into week 4, there's two things. Obviously, our nutritional challenge and our physical challenge. Obviously, we've discussed all three macronutrients, the protein, the carbohydrates, the awareness around that, some targets around that. This week is going to be around fats, our third macronutrient. And fats, the first thing I want to say, and just quickly bust a myth, they generally have a bad rep because a lot of people associate fats, because it uses the word fat, as if I eat fat, I will get fat. And that's not the case. However, there are a few things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to fats. And that is, out of our three macronutrients, fat is the highest density in terms of calories, which basically means 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carbohydrates are both equal to 4 calories, while fats, on the other hand, 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 calories. So they have a bad rep in terms of fat equals fat, but that's not the case. There are different types of fats that we need to consider. We've got, namely, the ones we're going to focus on is unsaturated, which are the healthy fats, and then saturated and trans fats, which are the unhealthy fats. And those are the fats that we want to avoid, that when it comes to kind of spiking our cholesterol and just being unhealthy for heart health and that kind of thing. So we'll have our resource in the week just with regards to what we should include and what we should stay away from. But when it comes to our fats, because 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, we have to be careful. A lot of the times when we consume foods that are namely low carb or low in sugar, ultimately those are very appealing to us because we're like, oh, it's low carb, it's got to be really good for us. But often, in order to kind of mask the bad taste of excluding the sugar, the fat content is increased. And because the fat content is increased, the calorie content is drastically increased. And so that's something that we need to be aware of, making sure that we are aware in terms of how much fat we're consuming and how much fat and the types of fat that are in certain foods. So we do need to consume our good fats, like our avocados and our nuts and even some olive oil. But I think we've probably seen the pictures going around just in terms of a whole handful of berries versus 1 tablespoon or teaspoon of olive oil is equivalent to the same amount of calories. So we need to be mindful when it comes to cooking. It's good to add olive oil because we're like, oh, I'm not cooking in butter or oil or sunflower oil. I'm using olive oil, so it's healthy. But be aware and be cautious about the amount of olive oil that we're using because of the calorie density. So fat doesn't make you fat. It's energy balance, calories in versus calories out. But fats do contain a higher number of calories per gram. So that's what we need to be aware of. In the resource for this week, I'm going to give you a target and I'm going to give you some homework just in terms of reading labels and making sure the types of fats and the fat content, and then equating that to the amount of calories. Even in our salad dressings, we're having salad, awesome, it's healthy, but we end up pouring salad dressing, which contains potentially a lot of, obviously it's oil based, so contains a lot of fat, and therefore that salad all of a sudden goes from a low calorie to a high calorie meal. So those are things we need to be aware of. That's going to be our nutrition challenge this week. I'll give you a target in the text in terms of the fat that we need to be consuming. And then our physical challenge. Obviously last week was a little bit of exercise, but the focus, as I said, week on week, is to basically just create good habits. We want to make sure that we're doing more and making it easy for ourselves in terms of moving more. So going for a walk, anyone can do that. It's comfortable, it's easy, and if we can get into a good habit of doing that more frequently, ultimately our energy expenditure is going to be higher, and therefore we would potentially lose weight. So we want to find things that we enjoy. I know a lot of the times it's tough to come to the gym because when we're here, it's hard work. So our goal and our challenge for this week is to find some form of activity, indoor or outdoor, that's enjoyable to you, something that you would potentially want to repeat on a more regular and a more frequent basis that's fun, enjoyable, and we're expending energy at the same time. So that could be different for everyone. It could be a walk with your kids. It could be taking the dogs for a walk. It could be going to play a game of paddle or a game of pickleball or even a spinning class, something that's potentially not difficult if you find lifting weights a little bit hard, although that's important. We want to find something that's enjoyable, that promotes an active, healthy lifestyle. I'll give you some suggestions, but ultimately I don't want to give too much because it's up to you. Even if you get your accountability to join you and make it a group effort, let's find something, one thing this week. Post photos in the group, share your experiences, try and get it done nice and early so that we can share each other's ideas and everyone in the group could potentially take part or find something that they can do. Those are 2 challenges for the week. Guys, it's week 4. It is a tough week, just in terms, as I said, of motivation. This is where we can't always rely on being motivated. Discipline now needs to take over. Discipline is where you get the results. If you rely on motivation only, you are never going to get the results. It has to be discipline. And we need to turn discipline into consistent habits that it just becomes natural. But thanks for listening. If you watched the video, give me a double thumbs up once again, and I will see you in the week. Have an awesome weekend, guys.